All right. This next video is very important, very important because when we're going through and we're solving these problems, sometimes these numbers, these fractions are kind of big and ugly, and we want to simplify them. We want to see those numbers as easily as possible to help us understand and see and visualize things and compare them better. And so when we get our decimal and we put it into a fraction, sometimes we can simplify that fraction. It's still the same shape. It's still the same shape. It's still the same amount of area, like if visually if we were to see it. Um, Let me find an example. So for example, if I saw these two fractions, they're both what amount shaded? That's half of the circle shaded. That's half of the circle shaded. But looking at the fraction 3/6, or looking at the fraction 6/12, that's a lot to see. We want it to be even simpler than that. We want it to just be 1/2. We want to simplify a fraction as easily as we can see it. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Those fractions are equivalent. It's the same amount shaded in. It's the same amount of space, but it's just written easier for us. So what we can do to turn those fractions, if we can simplify them, by looking for greatest common factors, or numbers that would divide into my numerator and my denominator. So to do that, there's a few different strategies. One, if I look at 34 and 100, I see they're both even. What number do I know automatically goes into every single even number? 2. So what I can do is I can divide my numerator and my denominator by 2, and that will help simplify that fraction for me. 34 divided by 2 is 17, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. So now I have to look at this new simplified fraction. Can I simplify that more? And I can't. 17 is the prime number. So unless 17 can go into 50, then I can't simplify it more, which 17 does not go into 50. That's one way to do it. Another strategy I have that I like to use is I like to write out the multiples for both of those numbers. I like to write out what numbers can I multiply together to get 34? What numbers can I multiply together to get 100? So I just go through and I write down what can multiply together. So for 34, I can do 1 times 34. I can do 2 times 17. 3 doesn't go into 34. Neither does 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then I write at 17. So those are the only numbers I can multiply together to get 34. To get to 100, I can do 1 times 100. I can do 2 times 50. Can't do 3. I can do 4 times 25. I can do 5 times 20. No 6, no 7, no 8, no 9. 10 times 10 is 100. And now that I've worked up to 10, I've got all of them. So when I look between my 34 and my 100, I want to choose one of those numbers to divide that goes into both of them. I want to look at numbers that goes into both of them. And so if I go through, I see that 2 is the only number that goes into 34 and 100. 2 is the only number that goes into 34 and 100. So that means I can only divide both of them by 2. I know that was a lot. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Now we have 0.05. So first, what we just did in the last set of notes, these ones, we need to turn it into a fraction. How would I turn 0.05 into a fraction? First, I read it without the decimal. I just have 5. And what's my denominator going to be? Look at place value. Tenths, hundredths. So this would be 5 over 100. So now I need to see, can I simplify this fraction? You can simplify all the ones on this page. It's good practice. So 5 over 100. I need to look and see what numbers multiply into both of those. So I've already got 100. Great. Now I need to do my 5s. What numbers can I multiply to get 5? 1 times 5. Anything else? Nope. Nothing else is going to give me a nice clean number. So just like 2 was the biggest number that went into 34 and 100 that I could divide, what's the biggest number that's going to go into 5 and 100 that I can divide them both by? 5 goes into both 5 and 100. So that means I can divide my numerator and my denominator both by 5 to simplify my fraction. So 5 divided by 5 would be 1. And then 100 divided by 5 would be 20. This chart has 2 uses. It helps you figure out what to divide by, and it also helps you work backwards from division to find out what your fraction would be. So now I'm at this fraction 1 over 20. Can I simplify 1 over 20? Because I can't simplify 1 anymore. Nothing goes into 1 and 20 that will simplify that fraction, so we're done. Go us. Let's try another one. Or wait, here, let's see. Let's have you try 3 on your own. 0.14. Pause the video, try that one on your own for me. Hopefully you guys got that your fraction should be 14 over 100. And now you should be on the simplifying step where you're trying to figure out what number can I divide into 14 and 100. Use this chart. Write out what numbers multiply together to get 14 to help you out. So if you wrote them out, hopefully you'd see 1 times 14 and 2 times 7 are the only numbers that'll get you to 14. And then I have to look and see what numbers go into 114. And I see 2 goes into 114. So to simplify, I need to divide them both by 2, my numerator and my denominator. Pause the video and simplify that fraction for me. Hopefully when you divided, 14 divided by 2 is 7. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Just to show you what I mean when we can't divide it anymore, let's take a look at the multiples for 7 and 50. What can I multiply to get 7? Only 1 times 7. That's the only way I can get it. 50. I can do 1 times 50. 2 times 25. No 3, no 4. I can do 5 times 10. And that's it. What numbers do 7 and 50 have in common? They have 1. They have 1 in common. And that's it. So if I divide 7 by 1, I'm still going to get 7. If I divide 50 by 1, I'm still going to get 50. So my fraction's going to stay the same. That's how you know if you can keep simplifying or not. Because sometimes these numbers get big And when we get these really big numbers, it becomes hard to simplify in one step. And sometimes it takes us a few times, and that's okay. That's okay. That's what's going to happen for us on this next one. Our next one, we have 0.125. Yeah, that's a big decimal. That's a big decimal. So let's start off with just turning it into a fraction. What number goes into 100? What number is that without the decimal? 125 over tenths, hundreds, thousandths. So 125 over 1,000. I don't want to have to write out all those multiples of 125 and 1,000. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't do that, and I'm a math teacher. But what I am going to do is I'm going to recognize a type of number that goes into both of those easy, and I'll just keep simplifying more than one time, and that's okay. So looking at 125 and 1,000, what number do those end with? They end with a 5 and a 0. What number gives me multiples that end in 5 and 0? 5. I know 5 can go into both these numbers, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start out dividing both of these by 5. 125 divided by 5. Let's come down here and do some division. 125 divided by 5. Does 5 go into 1? No. Does 5 go into 12? Yep. How many times? 2. Does 5 go into 25? 5 times. And it goes in nice, neat, and pretty. So 125 divided by 5 is going to give me 25. Now I have to do the same thing for 1,000. I have to do 1,000 divided by 5. Does 5 go into 1? Nope. Does 5 go into 10? Yep. How many times? 2. And then we have 5 into 0, 0 times. 5 into another 0, 0 times. So we get 200 for our denominator when we divide here. So now I have 25 into 200. What number do those both end in? 5s. They both end in 5, so I know I can divide them, or they both end in a 5 and a 0, so I can divide them both by 5 again, just like I could over here. Is there any other numbers that could go into both of those? Think about money. Think about quarters. You try this on your own. Divide it by 5, or think of another number that you could divide it by to simplify that number. Pause the video and try that on your own. Pause the video, try it on your own. So you could have divided them both by 5 again. And if you divide them by 5 again, 25 divided by 5 is 5. 200 divided by 5 is 40. And then again, I can divide by 5. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. 40 divided by 5 gives me 8. I finally was able to simplify all the way down to 1 over 8. 1/8 is 0.125 is a fraction. part of those benchmark fractions that we've talked about. If you have those things memorized, this is going to help you out a lot. Another route you could have gone when you're at that 25 over 200, if you were thinking about money like I told you, I can divide by 25 here. If you think about quarters, 25 divided by 25 is 1. If I have $2, how many quarters is that? That'd be 8. So I still get that fraction of 1/8. So I could simplify by 25, which is 5 times 5. Or you can simplify by 5 twice and you'll get the exact same answer. That's okay. That was a lot. If you need to pause the video, come ask us to get a drink of water or stretch your legs, take a quick brain break, do some stretching, you can. Otherwise, if you're ready to see this with mixed numbers, I'm still here for you. With mixed numbers, with these whole and parts, it's very similar, but you still are going to need to simplify the fractions. So 4 and 32 hundredths. Before and what's the fraction they're going to be? 32 over 100. And now I need to get into my division. We see they're both even, 32 and 100. So what can I divide them both by? 2. I can divide them both by 2. What's 32 divided by 2? Pause the video. Solve it for me. Because we know 100 divided by 2 is 50. 32 divided by 2 is 16. So now I have 4 and 16 over 50, but I can simplify that some more. What number goes into 16 and 50? Another 2. So that's going to be 4 and 16 divided by 2 is 8. 50 divided by 2 is 25. 4 and 8 25ths, and that is simplified. I'm going to have you try 6 and 7 on your own, but we're going to make this a little bit easier for us. We're going to get rid of that 5. We're going to get rid of that 8. We're going to get rid of that 2. Try 6, 7, and 8 for us. And when you're done, come find your teacher to check in, or you might have the answer poster around the classroom. But check in with us to see how you do on 6, 7, and 8 when you're done.